All right, so some of the main things you need to consider before we talk about entries at all is for once you talk about entries, you must be able to know how to mark your zones, right? Marking your zones is very, very important. If you don't know how to mark your zones, you're not conversant with how to mark zones, you're going to be making a lot of mistakes. And for entry, you must always remember that time and price is very, very fractal. What do I mean? It means that in every time there is another time. So for example, in H4 candle, you have four H1 candles, right? In one H1 candle, you have four M15 candles, okay? In one M15 candles, you have three M5 candles. So time and price is fractal, okay? So in one time, you get more times, okay? There's much more time. All right, so the same thing with price. Okay, so if you get an engulfing, in an engulfing on a particular time frame, there is another engulfing on a lower time frame. So if you have an H4 engulfing, inside that H4 engulfing, you can get an H1 engulfing. In that H1 engulfing, you can see an M15 engulfing. In that M15 engulfing, you can get an M5 engulfing. In that M5 engulfing, you can get an M1 engulfing. So price is fractal. Same thing with balance, sorry, breakouts, pullback, and entry, BPE. Sorry, I said balance. It's same thing with breakout, pullback, and entry. Okay, so when you get an H4 breakout, pullback, entry, in that H4 breakout, pullback, entry, there's M15, M30 breakout, pullback, and entry. Okay, so price is very, very fractal. So you must keep that in mind. Another thing is to remember that you can't take an entry on a trade if you don't know where the target is. So it means that your entry is also as important as your target. So you must know at least, oh, this is where I'm going to take my first profit. This is my first TP, or this is the next most reasonable place for price to go. All right. So another thing is to avoid friction. Friction is something in psychology we most often talk about friction. So for example, let's say I need to read a book, or I plan to read a book every morning when I wake up. If the book is beside me by my bed, right? When I wake up, there's a high chance that I'm going to pick up the book and read it because the first thing I want to do every morning, according to my plan, is to wake up and read a book. Okay. But if the book is far away, maybe in the living room or in another room, and I'm in the bedroom, immediately I wake up, there is already friction because I have to walk all the way down to the living room or to wherever the book is to pick it up to read. But if the book is just beside my bed before I sleep, and I wake up and I get to see the book, we have reduced friction. And what that means is that for a lot of traders, friction is what keeps us in the lower time frame chart. So you want to ensure that there's no friction between you and higher time frame direction. And that's why if you're just starting out, I usually recommend that you do away with the M30 chart, the M5 chart, or anything in between. Okay? Because when you spend a lot of time on any time frame lower than H4, you're going to likely miss the intraday direction. Okay? So if you're struggling with direction, you have to probably do away with friction because you want to be closer to the higher time frame than you are to the lower time frame chart. All right. And then if you're a beginner, one of the things you want to do, or if you're an impulsive trader, is to add indicator trading to your entry models. Because with the indicator, you become more mechanical, right? Because if you don't get this moving average crossover, if you don't get this RSI moving average crossover, you're not going to pick the trade. That's very, very important. Another thing to do to add to your entry is to always use trend lines. Trend lines are super important conferences. They tell you when to cut your losses, they tell you when to keep holding your trades and all of that. So the only thing I'm going to focus on in this video to make it very quick are these five models, okay? Balance, so keep saying balance, breakout, pullback, entry, BPE, then EFG setup, which is an engulfing fill with an engulfing. You also have an double engulfing setup, you have double EG setup, and then you have liquidity and change of character. All right, so we're just going to be focusing on any of these things. So let's say from here, let's just use the replay button. So technically, our entry time frame is going to be M5, M15, M5, M15. We're not going to go below M5. We're not going to go above M15. Can you get entries above this time frame? Yes. Can you get entries below this time frame? Yes. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're just focusing on entry. Okay, I'm not going to be talking about direction, talking about anything else. I'm just going to talk about entry, and we're going to be looking at this five: breakout, pullback, entry, EFG, engulfing fill plus an EG, engulfing fill plus an engulfing fill, EG plus EG. Then when we see liquidity and change of character, we'll pick it. So one of the best things is when you have any of this model combined together, okay, usually very, very strong. And then when we get a trend line confirmation, we would actually pick the trade. Okay, so let me put this close to us so we don't stray too far away. So in this scenario, technically what I can see, if I'm going to put in what I know from liquidity, I'll say this is the last low before this main low. So probably if price comes back to this level, let's drop the M5 a bit to see if there's any. Oh, no, so on the M5, there's an engulfing here. And also this is an engulfing. So we have an engulfing field setup. So if price comes here, I'll be looking to buy. Okay, so I want to make this pretty snappy. So let's see, I'm waiting for this level to tap. Let's see if we can get an entry before then anyway. So okay, maximum 15, anything smiling. Okay, all right, nothing yet. Let me just play. So far there's nothing yet. Okay, first as you can see there's BPE right now. Price is broken. Okay, so wait for the retracement back into this area. So we have this rejection candle, which is an engulfing right here. All right, and then at the same time, we're expecting this engulfing to get tapped out. Okay, so let's see. Let's start our entry level. What do you see here? Okay, this is an engulfing, right? This is an engulfing. Okay? And inside this engulfing, another engulfing formed. Okay? So this is an EF, sorry, a double engulfing setup. So an engulfing setup, plus a balance, a breakout pullback entry. Sorry, I hope I made the people understand. I hope I'm not rushing things too much. All right, and again, trend line conference. You can see this trend line here. This is type one trend line. Type one trend line there. Let's see again. First, our level, the third conference, any conference entry. See again, type one trend line. Let's see how far this goes. So this type one or type seven. This is more of a type seven trend line. Okay. So pick first tap, second tap, and then third touch. Okay, first taps and then go. So first TP, you're likely going to TP here because right here again is an EFG. Okay? This is an engulfing. This is an engulfing, and this is an engulfing field. So you put your first TP to be around this area, around the zone. Just M15, M5. I don't want to go below more than M15 and M5. Okay. Since we're just talking about entries, direction, TP starts that level. So this is an engulfing, as you can see. Again, this is also an engulfing, okay? But now all these guys are properly mitigated. So if price does not use this engulfing, price is likely going to clear the lows, which is what happened because I know what happened actually. This is just an entry video, okay? Hope I'm making this thing as simple as I can. I really hope so. Okay, so here again we have BPE, first tap, so first break, and then second break, okay? As long as we have this eye taken. Okay, first break, second break. The price comes back to this level. What do I have? This is an engulfing right here. And again, this is an engulfing. So engulfing setup. Price comes back here, would be willing to buy, okay? Super steps, and then voila. Okay, so engulfing setups with a balance, a breakout pullback and entry. Keeps the imbalance, right? All right, so first TP obviously would be this high. If you took it by here, this will be your first TP over here. Okay, well, let's see what happens next. Let's see the news effects. On the news, what else do we see? Double breakout also on the news, right? See first break, and then you see second break. Okay, so this was the CPI that happened. So this is an engulfing field. This is an engulfing field. Okay. If we get an engulfing here, it's good. If not, we just match. So we have an engulfing field already. So we wait for an engulfing to form. Okay, now engulfing forms. Wait for an engulfing to form. So I'm going to pick this. The engulfing forms is a trend line confirmation. Let's see. No trend line confirmation, so I'm not going to pick it. But yeah, we can easily, without trend line confirmation, engulfing field, engulfing with BPE, right? So you can easily pick the entry actually. So yeah, okay, price came back again. Okay, second tap. All right. On second tap, what do you see? This is an engulfing field. This is an engulfing. Price again formed another engulfing again. So if price comes back here, again, you can actually pick the buy. All right. So for the second tap, let's trend line confirmation in type 7. This type 7. Okay. I know all of these things in hindsight, so don't worry. The idea is just to be able to show you that these entry models they actually present in the markets. Okay. You just have to be patient and let them pan out. Right? So let's see. So again, just rinse and repeat the same process. So see this engulfing. This is an engulfing. This should have been your engulfing field. This is an engulfing field. This guy is an engulfing field, right? This is a QM engulfing field. So engulfing field, engulfing price comes. Okay. Is there a trend line? Yeah, probably like this. So you can pick the trade and then buy continuation. Right? So let's see. See that's too easy. So again, engulfing field here. And which one engulfing to form there, and then probably pick the trade. At the same time, you can see this an engulfing, but oh, it has not finished forming. So let's just wait. Okay. Crazy moves, right? Okay, so I'm at this engulfing now. Because this is the closest or the next engulfing. Okay, so let's see what price would do. See price came to the level, didn't tap. Just watch what happens next. Price comes back again. Now on the M5, let me show you something about this particular engulfing. Sorry guys, what's going on? So okay, right now. So on the M5, see this is an engulfing, right? This is an engulfing field right there. See that? Stops. Another step is an engulfing that formed a QM engulfing. So engulfing field, engulfing inside an M15 engulfing. Okay. And on M15, we have the same set of panels. Okay, so you see we have breakout here, it's breakout. The price just pulled back, good entry. So again, if you're not sure, you can wait, right? This is an engulfing field. You can wait for this engulfing to fail, then wait for an engulfing to form after this engulfing, and then you pick the buy continuation. Okay. So you see, all right. So oh, this is even better. Okay, so this is an engulfing field. Okay, let's see. See that this is an engulfing here. The engulfing field, engulfing, and at the same time, this engulfing field has another engulfing field. So this is like an engulfing field with an engulfing setup. Okay, so you can pick the buy here. Is there trend line confirmation? Absolutely. Yes. Without any doubt, there should be trend line confirmation. Depending on what you want to pick it from. If you pick this, you'll be right. If you also pick this, you probably be right. Okay, so right, so we'll get a reaction there. What else do we see? This is M15 is an engulfing field here. So it keeps repeating, right? An engulfing field. This is an engulfing field, engulfing setup. What else do we have? We have two-time breakout. Okay, so this is first break, becomes second break. So when price came back here with entry to the upside. Okay, so they just keep repeating. If we go to the M5, you'll be able to see a lot of setups here. See, this is M5. As you can see, or as you can follow, this is an engulfing field here. There's an engulfing field, there's an engulfing here. Price comes, taps continuation. It's a trend line confirmation. Yes, there's a trend line confirmation. Price being rejected, I close that off. So yeah, see that. Okay, so just rinse and repeat. The same thing just keeps happening. It's the same model, it doesn't change. So get a BPE or you get an EFG setup, an engulfing field engulfing setup, and get an engulfing field, double engulfing field, or double EG, or you can get a liquidity rate and change your character. Okay, so like I said, the best entry can combine any of these two. Okay, so most times you'd almost always see a BPE and any of the other ones. So let's see. Okay, and that's where price ended. Okay, so if price eventually comes back here and then forms an engulfing buy. Okay, forms an engulfing buy, comes to retest, I'll pick the trade. Okay, plus if there's a distant EG, essential line. Okay, so combining any of these models, so the PPE, I'm assuming you know what breakout pullback entry means. I'm assuming you know what engulfing field and engulfing is. So either a BPE, engulfing field, and engulfing model, or a double engulfing field or double EG, a liquidity with change of character. Okay, so for liquidity with change of character, there's quite a number of options. For example, which one can I show you guys? So let me show you this. So right here, as you can see, first took liquidity below this low, broke. This is a retracement into the area, so you can pick the buy. Plus other reasons. The same thing happened here. Liquidity below this low, broke, retraced. So we had earlier buys, pumped up. So this was just a news effect. As you can see, price did not close below this level, this one. Okay, so the same thing here. Liquidity taken below the low, and the break on the retracement with the entry, and then you're up. Okay, so it's just very repetitive. Obviously, with hindsight, benefit of hindsight. Okay, so the high taking, the low taking, we gave a breakout, came induced, broke, change of character, returned, pick from the HNS, and then we're good. Okay. All right. Again, I forgot to mention this is an engulfing, right? This is also an engulfing here. So this is an engulfing one. This is an engulfing. So this is an engulfing, double engulfing setup. So press came, tapped, and then go. So you just have to be patient and then look for your entry. So in this scenario, let's see, is a trend line confirmation? Not really from here, but you can get one. This type 5, right? Trend line type 5. Okay. So yeah. If you have any questions, I'm still going to probably work on a more comprehensive video. This is just so fast because it's just so fast, right? So catch you guys in the next one.